This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Hey guys, Big Paul here today, and I've got another anabolic Q&A. Got a few things good on deck. Been kind of slacking on doing these lately. I'm trying to get back into a regular routine of it. Things have been hectic. I was on vacation, a bunch of stuff going on. Anyway, enough excuses, enough about me. We are going to dig into these questions in just 1 second. All right, first question I've got here is from Benjamin Kunal. I think that's how you say his name. So for non-competitors, what do you think is a solid cycle for a simple cut? I have a wedding coming up, and I want to look my best. I just keep it simple. It's funny, people always associate PEDs with getting in shape, and really the single most important thing that you can do if you want to look good for your wedding is get on a structured diet. Start doing some cardio. Now, with that said, once you get lean enough, certain compounds can help give you an aesthetic appearance. And I'll tell you, when I do contest prep, the first half of my contest prep, I'm just running regular off-season shit. It might be test and primobolan or test and equipoise or whatever. We really don't start sticking in the aesthetic drugs until the end. And when you're lean enough for them to actually make a difference. If you come out of the gate running something like Winstraw or halo testing, it's not really going to do much of anything for you. You're not going to see much of anything. It's not worth the stress you're putting on your body for the results you're going to get. So probably I would say a simple, if I were just doing I actually have a video up called Bro Cut Cycle, but if I were just doing something simple, I would say maybe something like Test and Masteron. Start off with that, add some over-the-counter fat burners, just do like an ECY stack, ephedrine, caffeine, yohimbine. If you really wanted to get saucy, you could add in some clenbuterol at some point and just run that, get on a strict diet, do some cardio, be in a deficit. I like for people to lose somewhere between 1 and 1.5% of their body weight per week. I think that's about the max you can lose without sacrificing muscle tissue. And you can definitely get more aggressive with it and take more weight off. So if you got 30 pounds to lose and you're 200 pounds, I would say you got to budget yourself a full 16 weeks to do it. Maybe longer. Some people that have a lot to lose need longer. Sometimes you need to cut it up into chunks. But I would say keep it simple. Test, Masteron. If you could afford some GH, it certainly wouldn't hurt to add some GH. Over-the-counter fat burners, and maybe some clenbuterol. That's really it. That would be something safe, something simple, something easy. All right, next one I've got here is from Fede Veteroni. Yeah, Veteroni. I think that's how you say his name. Oh God, I hope I got this right. Let's see what Fede says. Does high estrogen build muscle through IGF-1? Estrogen contributes to IGF-1 conversion. So typically in the off season, when you're trying to get bigger, we want to run your estrogen. You kind of find a sweet spot, but as high as you can tolerate without nasty side effects. And that is going to help with IGF-1 conversion. That's really simple. That's all I got on that one, man. But I would say run, and plus having higher estrogen in the off season has some health benefits too, such as improved lipids, and it is neuroprotective. There is a fine line. There's a point where you can get to where your estrogen gets too high and your pee-pee don't work. So we don't want pee-pee to go pew. So you want to keep it in a range where your pee-pee's happy. And your sex drive's good. You want to also keep it, in a range where you're not so bloated, your blood pressure's through the roof. But run it as high as you can tolerate. That's going to contribute to IGF-1 conversion. This is a really original screen name here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 says, please talk about what you consider to be steroid abuse. I think I've covered this one before. I vaguely remember somebody else asking me this, but this one's sort of a sticky wicket. I mean, technically, any of us that are competing are probably abusing the drugs. I mean, let's just be honest with you. We're taking way more than therapeutic doses, so I don't know if you want to consider that abuse. It probably is abusive. We're abusing our bodies with these high doses to get in shape to win a plastic trophy. But what I would consider really abuse is when there is a psychological dependency on it. I get these guys. I have people that reach out to me on occasion that are just running shit tons of gear. I mean, just unbelievable amounts of gear, and they don't even look like it. And they give me all these justifications. This one makes me feel this way. This one makes me feel that way. If I don't take this, I don't feel that way. If I don't take that, it makes me look different. And when it gets into that part where there's this psychological need or this psychological dependency to have these compounds that's completely irrational. For example, like if I'm doing contest prep, there's a specific reason to use a certain compound for contest prep. But if you're running like 5 things in the off season just to fucking run them, that's when I think it probably delves into the area of having a problem. I also see dudes that, and I've been guilty of it myself. I will push the limits with my health sometimes. Guys that know. I've run into dudes that know. I've talked to guys before that have been in fucking kidney failure, just full-blown kidney failure. I say, you might want to take it easy, and they won't do it. That is when you got a problem. When you're literally dying and you won't stop. But here's my thing. I am a proponent of people doing whatever the fuck they want. It's their life. Live it how you want. All right, next one here is concrete factory coaching. He said, let's talk more about metformin and your opinion on it because not everyone shares your ideas. I asked Barry Swole and AJ Sims about its usage on prep, and they didn't see a point. Where did you get this information from, and who told you this would be a usable tool in prep? Well, my answer is no one told me it would be useful in prep. This is something I experimented with on my own. As far as I know, nobody else has done it. And the reason why I thought it might be helpful on prep is that there's some information that metformin, it has strong effects on hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin. And so my logic here is if we can suppress ghrelin and enhance leptin, that would control hunger while on prep, and you're less likely to cheat and feel like shit from being hungry all the fucking time. Plus, there's the added benefit of increased insulin sensitivity, which we're probably going to be insulin sensitive on prep anyway, so there's not much of a point there. But my main purpose for using it was for appetite suppression. And I found it to be effective. And I've run it with several people. I've just, we've experimented. And we have found it to be very effective for hunger suppression and for improved body composition. I don't understand the exact mechanisms of it, and this is just anecdotal information, but it does seem like when you run metformin that you can eat more food and it goes to the right places. Instead of getting stored as fat, it seems that it increases glycogen production to a certain degree. Maybe berberine would have the same effect. I don't know. But this is all just anecdotal. This is all just me playing around. All respect to Barry Swole and AJ Sims. They probably know more than me. I'm just some dumb guy that's just experimenting. But I found it to be helpful. I tried it out, and it helped me on my prep. I looked the best that I've ever have. I put on a shit ton of size this past year. As far as I know, there haven't been many people that put on 50 pounds of stage weight in a year. I did it. I'm not trying to brag or pat myself on the back, but I experimented with some unconventional things that other people haven't tried. I heard a coach the other day that was calling me out on the metformin, not metformin, but you running Lantus thing. He didn't say my name specifically, but I knew he was talking about me. That running Lantus year round is stupid. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I can just say, look at my results and who else has had that result. And I've also duplicated some of those results with some clients too. I've been posting them up on Instagram. I've got dudes that are putting on 30, 40, 50 pounds of solid weight and rebound. Doesn't happen with everybody. I think you have to have a nice base of muscle there first, and you have to do a really hard cut. But there are all these things I think that help. Metformin is a piece of the puzzle. And, you know, I'm still kind of putting it together and experimenting. You know, it's sort of mad scientist type stuff. But, you know, it is not the traditional way of doing things. Absolutely not. I did not get that information from anybody else. The whole metformin on prep thing was something I experimented with on my own. Nobody told me to do it. Nobody told me to try it. It's something that I wanted to give a crack. It made sense to me, so I'm like, fuck it, let's try it. And I think I got good results out of it. Joe Cameron PT, thoughts on growing on a moderate amount of tests only, something like 500 to 1 gram of tests plus a calorie surplus. Well, I mean, that's a full-blown cycle in my book. I mean, shit, when I was younger, I mean, that would probably be all I would run was, you know, 500 milligrams of test. That'd be a full-blown cycle to me. I mean, if you're 270 pounds like my size, it probably, you know, running 500 milligrams of test, you're probably not going to get much growth out of it. Maybe a little bit, but you know, if you're in the beginner or intermediate stages, sure, you can fucking grow on 500 milligrams of test. I mean, your testosterone levels are going to be through the roof. That should be more than enough with proper diet and proper training to get 95% of people out there to get results from. You know, once you get past 500 milligrams, rather than pushing up to a gram by itself, it might make more sense to add an anabolic that doesn't convert to estrogen or DHT, so you can, you know, limit side effects and leverage more of the anabolic effect of compounds. It might make more sense than running, you know, just keep running tests, limitless amounts of tests. But you absolutely can get gains out of it. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that at all. It's very possible to get gains out of tests. I've done it, and I've seen people do it. So, yeah, sure, you can do that. I don't know that it's the most efficient way. And I don't know that it's the safest way. I mean, would you be safer running 500 milligrams of test and 500 milligrams of Primo versus just running a gram of test by itself? I don't know. Probably going to have less side effects doing it that way. And I think it would probably be more effective. But certainly, you could get plenty of results out of 500 milligrams to a gram of test. Absolutely. William Green says, can you mini cut in the middle of an off season to set up another rebound? That's an interesting idea. I've never tried it. My gut tells me that would be bad because muscle tissue, I mean, if you look at satellite cell proliferation and how long it takes muscle cells to come to maturity, I don't remember the exact number, but it's something like 90 to 120 days. So if you started a mini cut like right in, you know, like say 8 weeks or 10 weeks or something, you might not have allowed the new muscle tissue that you've added to fully come to maturation and cement themselves in place, and you may just be digging yourself back into a hole and just losing everything you've already worked on gaining. This is just me speculating. I don't have any scientific data on this. I would imagine that the best way to do it, and at least in my experience, is to do one hard cut per year. I would say compete in a show. If you're going to do a hard cut and you like bodybuilding, you might as well fucking compete. Just go ahead and knock it out, do a show, get yourself super lean, and then leverage the rebound, and then do a full-blown off-season. And just don't eat like an asshole in the off-season. Don't get super fat. There's an answer for you. So I think a lot of guys use the off-season as an excuse to just turn into big fat pieces of shit. Instead of doing that, just don't get fat in the off-season. You get bigger. Eat a few. I had a guy the other day tell me he ate a whole pan of brownies, and I'm like, well, it didn't do much damage. And he's like, well, that will damage you? Like, it's not muscle food. I mean, I get it. I've had my face first in a plate of cookies before, so it happens. But I think it would be more productive just having a strict diet in the off season and just plowing through the off season straight through, probably 16 to 20 week off season. should be long enough to cement some real gains in before you do a cut again. Last question from Jim Sorenstein. Jim said, I know you hate DBOL, but is there a way to use DBOL as your test base instead of running test? Well, yeah, that's what everybody did in the fucking 70s. They didn't run tests back then. They just did DBOL and DECA and DBOL and PrimaBOL. Yeah, that's what they did back then. They didn't run tests. So yeah, it's been done a million times. And I know people think so the whole DBOL thing, I'm not a fan of DBOL. I'll tell you that. And I'll have elaborated on this a million fucking times, and I'll tell you why. It's because I talk to tons of people, and I coach a lot of people, and it is the number one offender I see for causing gynecomastia. It is the number one offender I see for causing bloating and high blood pressure. So I think there are better choices than DBOL. Some people tolerate DBOL well. Most do not. You know, everybody likes to point to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger did it. Well, maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger tolerated DBOL well, and you fucking don't. Arnold didn't grow titties. You might. So Arnold didn't look like a bloated pig when he took DBOL. You might. You know, so just because Arnold took it doesn't mean you should take it. That's the thing that drives me nuts with people when it comes to PEDs and diets. You got to figure out what works for your own body. Physiology is wildly unique from person to person, and you gotta kind of take some time, work through it, figure out what works for you. Now, I do see patterns when you start working with a ton of people and you see a ton of blood work. You see patterns, and I will say the number one steroid that I see causes the most problems with people is DBOL. And really, it's been my experience, you can't run it long enough because the side effects get so bad to actually accumulate any decent gains from it. It's all just fucking bloat, and it converts to methyl estradiol. So I don't know why people love it so much. If you just want to use it once in a blue moon, if I were going to use DBOL, I used a ton of it when I was younger. The reason why I fucking hated it is because I used a ton of it when I was younger, and it did nothing but cause me problems. I never had gyno until I used DBOL. And then I had a giant lump. I mean, it was like a fucking hamburger patty sized lump in my chest I had to get removed. And it was from running DBOL. And I know Arnold ran it. Arnold didn't get gyno. I did, so I can't fucking run DBOL. And I would say that's the truth for most people. So just because some bodybuilder did it doesn't mean you can. Just because some bodybuilder trained a certain way doesn't mean you can. Just because some bodybuilder ran a certain diet doesn't mean you can get away with it. So you have to use some intelligence. You have to problem solve. You have to figure out what works for you and your unique body type and go that route. And then if there is a drug that's safer that does a better job, so for example, if equipoise is safer and does a better job, hypothetically, than DBOL, why the fuck would you run DBOL? Why not run equipoise? If PrimaBOL is safer and does a better job than DBOL, why the fuck would you use DBOL then? Just use PrimaBOL. Makes no sense to me. There's nothing unique that DBOL offers that can be done with another drug better without less side effects. So that's why I don't like DBOL. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you found this interesting. If you think I'm an asshole or an idiot, put your comments in the section below. I'll do my best to answer each and every one of you. Take care, motherfuckers. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.